Today, I want to talk about something less nerdy, less technical, about macro statistics, some data, population, geography, and maybe even geopolitics, like things that are more macro, less technical. Even though at the beginning I actually aspire to only talk about things that are extremely nerdy, technical, like evolutionary biology, physics, computers, and it is not because nerdy things are particularly cooler or I want to appear intelligent. It is because nerdy things get to be talk about, get to be discussed about very little. Most people tend to avoid it for some unknown reasons. Maybe they don't seem as cool or as entertaining as pop music, as football or sports or video games. So they get talk less, and I think that is very alarming. We need to preserve that, and and one reason is because a lot of nerdy things, if you really uh, flip over the hood and really look at it underneath, there are a lot of important and cool things. But of course, the physical appearance, the packaging of nerdy stuff are hideous. So people are not attracted to it. And that is a reason why people, I think nerdy things ought to be discussed more so that you can let people examine whether they are really boring or actually they are cooler than you think. But today I'm kind of tired, so I probably will talk about something less nerdy. I want to talk about population, some figures. This kind of things I have been googling for hundreds of times, of thousands of times, because I always have this kind of wonder, and then I Google a lot. I Google the same thing a lot of times, and I kind of remember the figure. So to start with, Malaysia has 32 or 34 million of population. Uh, but this sort of data, right, actually is kind of meaningless. Uh, I mean, it looks insanely boring in isolated form. Just a number, 34 million, so what? But data always becomes very interesting, very alluring when you put in relative terms. So, for example, we know the Earth and the Sun and the Sun are spherical, all right? So they have diameter, they have circumference, they have size, volume, and again, you can search via Google what is the diameter of the sun. What is they will give you a figure astronomically large. You have a figure of like 10 to the power of 8 kilometer. So that is also very boring. But what if I tell you, all right, the sun itself could potentially, not potentially, actually it's factual. The sun itself could house 900,000 of Earths. So that means to fully fill up the entire sun, we need 900,000 of Earths. So that is a very astounding figure. It shows that how humongous sun is, because even for us, every single one of us, Earth is humongous enough. Most of us, actually all of us, will not travel every single inches of the Earth within our lifetime. But can you imagine 900,000 of Earths? How big is that? How big is the sun is? So when you put into relative terms the data, things become slightly less mundane, slightly meaningful. So it is the same for Malaysia. 34 million population. What does it really mean? Okay, we could first put in perspective by comparing with our neighbor Singapore. I believe a lot of people have traveled to Singapore and know how small it is. Singapore has a population of about 5 million. All right, so it's 1/6 or 1/7 of the population of Malaysia. Okay, fine. And in fact, the population of Singapore is about the same of the population of the entire Kuala Lumpur. Kuala Lumpur is about 6 million, at most 7 million. Okay, but again, that is still not so meaningful. You can't really visualize. One way I visualize this data, right, is to imagine. Okay, I studied in University Malaya, so University Malaya has this marvelous hall called Dewan Tunku Chancellor. So the Tunku Chancellor Hall, it is frequently being used for grand event, particularly for convocations, last time when Barack Obama visited University Malaya in I think 8 years ago, he had a town hall in that particular hall, and of course there are a lot of artistic cultural event would be held in this hall. So why do I mention this hall? Because this hall is a good reference for me, maybe not for you, but I advise you guys to use the same. You try to think about your entire life. Is there any good yardstick you could use to measure this sort of data? So why do I pick Chancellor Hall? Because Chancellor Hall is known to be able to house 3,000 people at about that for full house. And then I remember I actually have performed on the stage of that Chancellor Hall for about 3 to 4 times within my university during my university days. And I remember dearly, every single time I perform and stand on stage, I look at the hall itself. It was so humongous. Can you imagine 3,000 people in front of you? It was so staggering. The moment you look at the audience from the stage, you would tremble. 3,000 people, really a lot, really a lot. But let's think about that, because why do I mention Chancellor is because I want to make a comparison with the population of Kuala Lumpur, Singapore and Malaysia. We don't talk about Malaysia yet. We talk about Singapore and Kuala Lumpur, 5 to 6 million people. If you do the math, all right, if you want to meet every single person in Kuala Lumpur or Singapore, all right, you need, okay, or I talk about myself, maybe you don't really know Chancellor Hall. I need 3,000 of Chancellor Halls, the exact same halls, the exact same hall. Just now I said one hall fits 3,000 people. I need 3,000 of the same hall to eventually house every single person in Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. I don't know about you, when I do the math, I found that it is so astounding. Because in my impression, actually, Kuala Lumpur, in my mind, Kuala Lumpur doesn't look that big. I could drive and go around Ampang, Cheras, of course, city center. Quickly, I would exhaust the entire place. But actually, you do the math, it's so scary because even one Chancellor Hall would stagger me. The 3,000 people really make me tremble. But you think about 3,000 multiplied by 3,000. Okay, about that. So that shows how vast the number is. Of course, needless to say, we are now need to go further to talk about every single person in Malaysia, 34 million, which is about 6 times of Kuala Lumpur. That is even scarier. All right. Why do we need to do this kind of data visualization? I believe on YouTube you could find people who are good in video editing. They actually already visualize this kind of data. Or I highly recommend also a website called Our World in Data or Wordometer. They have a lot of meaningful data visualization to show you number of people, number of cigarettes being taken every single second, number of births or number of deaths every single second. So why is it important to visualize this data? Because for me, I think one mistake I made as a child, as a teenager, or even 5 years ago, I was still making the same mistake, is to, I don't know what is the word, because there is a word called extrapolate. I think we interpolate. The reverse is interpolate. I think it is very normal for humans, for individuals to interpolate the world. What do I mean by that? Okay, for example, most of us attended kindergarten, primary school. So when you enter primary school, at most, you will only see about 100 people. You will only see about 100 people every single day, 200 people at most within your school compound. Within your class is even smaller. It's only 30 people, 40 people. So it's very easy to interpolate accidentally and mistake those 40 people as your world. All right, you might say I'm rational, I'm not so stupid, I know internet, I read newspaper, but still intuitively we always think that my classmates, my colleagues, my departments, my university friends, my neighborhood is our world. Uh, uh, and why actually most of us are like that, because for me, for example, let's say you walk around in your neighborhood, or when I was a kid, I was in the class, when I offended a person or I had a quarrel with a person, uh, it would feel devastating. It would feel like as if like my world is crumbling. There is a huge pothole inside my world. But actually not, because if you extrapolate and know how many people there really is in the world, then you would be able to do some mathematics and figure out, oh, maybe I upset this person, or this person made me to feel upset. It's just tip of the iceberg, and it's a tip of the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. I think this is an important corollary that we could learn and extract from this vast amount of data. Likewise, for business, it's the same. People often get demotivated the moment they get rejected, couldn't get promotion, couldn't make a sales. But again, the world is so vast, the market is so vast. There are just, you could say, infinite amount of people you could make your new pitch to. You could try to make money from. So likewise for dating, the world is just so enormously huge. The opportunity is endless. And I haven't ended actually. I want to further talk about Malaysia is 34 million, but we don't stop there. Obviously, I start by talking about some countries that have a closer population to us. For example, United Kingdom, about 60 million, 70 million, about 2 times of Malaysia. Germany is about the same. Most Western European countries, I believe, is about that. So 2 times of than us is quite vast. And then we can talk about some larger behemoth. Vietnam, I think about 100 to 200 million, about 6 times of Malaysia. And then we have Indonesia. Oh, wait, I think I talk about America first. America about 300 million, 10 times of Malaysia. And then I think Brazil is about the same. And then we have a larger country, Indonesia, I think about 300, 400 million as well. Or 700, I can't be really sure. But let's take Indonesia as 300 to 400 million. And then now we can talk about a real Leviathan. First of all, Bangladesh. Bangladesh is about I believe 800 million, and 800 million, yeah. Bangladesh I think is quite huge, the population. And then another scary one, of course, is India. Maybe 1 billion. All right. And lastly, our elephant in the room, China, 1.2, 1.3 billion, about 1/5 of the entire world. So the world has 7 billion people. So can you imagine? Doesn't it sound very absurd when you become engrossed in whatever in your neighborhood, your team in your company, your university friends, high school friends. So those are just tiny of the iceberg. And then the world is dynamic, especially after internet is invented. The world gets even more and more fluid, globalized. So it is just easier to reach out to other parts of the world. So I think this is an important lesson we could learn here. And I will stop here. Let's see what I will talk about tomorrow. See you.